What is going on? Welcome back to a live edition of the Mission Ready Men briefing here on the SHR Media Network, where we stand firm in truth, faith, family, and freedom. And today is Thursday, July 11th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And this show is still for those of us who fear God, love our country, and won't back down from a fight, because we're in not just a political battle, but a spiritual one as well. We've got truth to expose. We've got narratives to crush. And the fight for faith, family, and freedom never, ever takes a day off, despite the days off that I took, but we'll get into that in a minute. The wokies, they're melting down, and the regime, the American Pravda, is lying through its teeth, and patriot warriors like us all across the country are standing up. We're going to get into all of it and then some. I don't know how long this is going to go. We may go 90 minutes. We may even go 2 hours. Who knows? Because we haven't been live for a while, and we've missed quite a bit. But make sure you're following Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you want to wear the fight, grab your gear at missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of those great designs. All right, business is out of the way, so let's get after it. As you can see, we are not in our usual studio, usual space. And I've been talking about big changes that are coming, and big changes are still in the process. But we are no longer in the great state of Texas. We have moved, and we are now in the state of Arkansas. I know, right? Go figure. We were in Texas for just about 20 years. We moved to Texas in January of 2006. So this coming January would have been 20 years. A lot's changed in Texas over that time. And we, like I say in the open, we don't back down from a fight. But I just believe that God was moving us in a different direction. I love Texas. I still love Texas. I always have loved Texas. Most of the schools that I applied to coming out of high school were in Texas. And so I'm always going to be a hook 'em horns. Always going to be a Longhorn fan. But I just believe that God has put something before us that we need to follow. And when we were making the decision to move, we looked in Texas. We looked in Texas, and nothing really was panning out. We looked in other states, and we thought we were going to move to a different state. God slammed that door shut right in our faces. And so here we are now in Arkansas. And so we're going to follow the path that God has laid out for us. Hopefully the next time we're together, we will be in what will be our permanent studio. And because we're not in our permanent space, you may see some dogs running around. You may hear some dogs. Well, yeah, there you go. There's Doc right there. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun, y'all. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We have moved, and big changes have come. Big changes are still to come. And we're looking forward to all of it. And So I just wanted to let everybody know that's why we've been doing the replays. We wanted to we want to do replays because that helps us stay relevant in the algorithm. Because if you just don't do anything for an extended period of time, that could hurt you. So we went with those replays. I hope you all enjoyed them. And but we will be back now live for the foreseeable future, barring some unforeseeable circumstances. But we're back. So as I said before, let's get after it. And there have been some huge stories that we've missed because we've been dealing with this move and things like that. One of the biggest, obviously, is the floods that occurred in Texas. Happened right as we were pulling out of Texas, really. In Kerr County, Texas. As of right now, there are over 120 people dead, over 160 still unaccounted for. Entire families have been swept away, and first responders risked their lives to pull children from the water. There was the story of the Coast Guard swimmer who rescued over 165 people. I don't have the clip of it, but he was just an absolute hero. And so while that was going on, the left and propagandists for the left were playing politics, and it was sick and twisted and evil. So we're gonna get into some of that. Talk about the recovery and what's going on, and the twisted, evil attempt by these leftists to play politics and score political points with this. It's beyond sick and twisted and evil. I want to say it's something that I couldn't imagine even the left doing, but when I think about it, it really doesn't surprise me, actually, because that's how depraved some of these people are. So this disaster happened in Central Texas, not too far from where we used to live, and some areas near where we used to live. And I'm not even sure about the area that we left, quite honestly, were overwhelmed by these floods. Over 800 people were rescued, 165 by that one Coast Guard swimmer. National Guard, Texas DPS, Parks and Wildlife, the Cajun Navy, even some Mexican teams sent up by Claudia Scheinbaum from Mexico to help with the recovery, and that is amazing. And then we have nonprofits like Samaritan's Purse, World Central Kitchen, feeding and housing survivors, and the first responders. It's just been local businesses like HEB. HEB was the first entity to roll towards the recovery effort. HEB is the big grocery store in Texas, and they've always been fantastic. Sports franchises have shown up to help, and it's just been amazing to watch. And then on the other hand, when Texans like that are showing up, and even the Cajun Navy and other people from all over the country, really showing up to serve, showing up to help, the activists, the propagandists, all they can do is sneer and in some cases cheer, which we'll get into in a bit. But you got leftists like Rosie O'Donnell, President Trump's favorite, excuse me, favorite person, blaming Trump for this disaster because he allegedly gutted the National Weather Service. Democrat leaders demanding hearings for to look into cuts at NOAA and FEMA, and leftist propagandists at Politico and The Guardian and other American Pravda outlets suggesting that it was President Trump's fault that the emergency preparedness has been weak. All of it is, they will stop at nothing. They will stop at absolutely nothing to smear Trump, to blame Trump for anything and everything that could possibly go wrong. If it goes wrong, as far as they're concerned, it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. Everything bad is Trump's fault. These people are ridiculous. And again, as I said, it really shouldn't be a surprise because that's all these people have. They don't have anything constructive to offer. They don't have anything of any substance to offer. All they can do is smear President Trump and smear conservatives. And so they want to blame Trump for this disaster. But the truth is, the National Weather Service issued warnings the day before it happened. The budget cuts that these people are so upset about haven't gone into effect yet. They don't go into effect until October. And the emergency response, preparedness, infrastructure, that was local mismanagement. Now, Governor Abbott is calling for some legislation to force some of these communities to shore up their emergency preparedness, their flood warning systems, and all the rest of it. President Trump doesn't have anything to do with that. But because blaming Trump is the thing to do, they're blaming him. Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, said that blaming Trump is a depraved lie. And it is. It's worse than depraved, especially in light of the tragic loss of life. It's just, they want to believe that President Trump caused this flash flood more than they want to believe in personal responsibility. It's along the same lines as everything else. They hate Trump more than they love this country. It's the climate cult meeting Trump derangement syndrome. It's sick. It's twisted. They could not help themselves from playing the blame game. MSNBC, MSDNC, I heard someone call it MSLSD, which is amazing. The Guardian, the Daily Beast, they couldn't bring themselves to focus on the victims of this tragedy. All they could do was focus on the political fallout that they were themselves causing, because this is not a political issue. It's not even an issue, it's a tragedy. They ignored the heroism of that Coast Guard petty officer. They ignored the heroism of the game wardens, the Texas game wardens, and the sheriffs and DP. They ignored all of that. I saw a story earlier today. There was a homeless guy who showed up from New Braunfels, Texas, which is probably, I don't know, 50, 60 miles from Kerr County. Maybe not quite that, somewhere around there. It's not where he can just hop on a bus and go down the street. But this homeless guy showed up to help. And here's what really irritates me to no end. When we had disasters under the previous administration, they couldn't bring themselves to critique him in any way, shape, or form. When we had the East Palestine disaster, the train derailment that released all kinds of deadly toxins into the environment that they're still dealing with. Trump showed up with water and with equipment to help and stuff like that, and they criticized him for that. Biden didn't show up for what, weeks? Pete Buttigieg didn't show up for weeks. And everything was all good. It just, the double standard is off the charts. The wildfires in Maui, the response there was just ridiculous. And they had nothing. They didn't say anything. Can you imagine the fallout if the East Palestine derailment or the Maui wildfires had happened under President Trump's administration? They would be blaming him for everything. Somebody would probably go so far as to say he started the fire in Maui, or he caused the train derailment in East Palestine. It's just, these people are ridiculous. These people are just ridiculous. And the only thing I can do is pray for them. That's it. But there are, excuse me, there are some real issues that we need to examine. And there are some legitimate criticisms of the county and the municipalities where this tragedy took place for their emergency alert infrastructure. It needed some help, despite the National Weather Service and all of those entities doing their jobs as they're supposed to. And this is why Governor Abbott is pushing for that legislation for infrastructure upgrades to better monitor the levels of the rivers and evacuation protocols and warning systems and things like that. But despite those criticisms, and we can get into those details at another time, because we're still dealing with the aftermath of the recovery efforts at this point. the resilience of the communities in these areas in the aftermath of this is just amazing. We have all kinds of, I talked about this earlier, we have all kinds of local Texas charities, individuals, volunteer boat crews, churches, donation drives. Just amazing to watch. Absolutely amazing to watch. Hey, Joe, good afternoon. Glad to see you in chat. And people, if you're listening and you want to get in on the chat, head over to the channel, the SHR Media channel on YouTube, and you can join in the chat. You can tell me how wrong I am, or you can agree with me. I appreciate that too. But yeah, we would love to have you in chat and get some discussions going. The despite all the good things that are happening with good things, despite the positive aspects of the response of the volunteers and things like that, there have been even worse than some of the American Pravda response are some individuals. I mean, these deadly floods, children dying, families devastated. And while that's going on, we have people like Sade Perkins. And if you haven't heard of her, good. And if you haven't heard of her, I apologize for what I'm about to do. But yeah, let's see if we can pull this up, because this is absolutely vile, repulsive, repugnant, you name it. You name an adjective to describe how evil this is, and you probably will not do it justice. So I want to share with you, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's kind of long, but you'll get the idea here in a second. And I'm on a different setup, so things are not quite the way I would like to have them. But let's go with this here. All right, there we go. This is a TikTok video from Sade Perkins, and just listen to this.
Oh my God, there's so many people.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token Black person. It is a all white-only, conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. And I think that context needs to be said.
Before we listen to any more of this garbage, that narrative fell apart because there were Hispanic kids at this camp. There were Hispanic children that perished as a result of this disaster. So she's wrong. She's wrong on so many levels, but that one in particular, of many.
In this matter, It's not to say that we don't want the girls to be found, whatever girls that are missing or whatever right now, but you best believe, especially in today's political climate, if this were a group of Hispanic girls, especially with them being in East Texas, it should be most likely Hispanic. If this were a group,
and it was actually Central Texas, but I digress.
Of Hispanic girls out there, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a fuck, and all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported, they shouldn't have been here in the first place, and yada yada yada. So before y'all come at me, before y'all start leaving hate comments on my page about, oh, these are just kids and they don't know no better, the parents of these children who are choosing, and it is a choice in 2025, it is definitely a freaking choice to go into East goddamn Texas and to make a all-white enclave, exclusionary just for white people, with all the black people in East Texas, with all the Hispanic people in East Texas. Somehow, some way, you have carved out an all-white.
All right, that's enough of that. What is she talking about? What is she talking about? It's an all-white enclave. I mean, this person is just sick and twisted, and about as evil as you can get. If you ain't white, you ain't right. Really? She had absolutely no evidence to back up anything that she said. None. Absolutely none. And she was just wrong on the basic facts. Kerr County is slightly northwest of San Antonio. And she's from Houston. So she's far more east than where this tragedy took place. She's just wrong on so many levels. It's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating. And she's put out a few other videos where she accused Christians of not caring because the kids who perished and who were involved in this weren't gay or trans, which how do you even respond to that? How do you even respond to that? Other than to say you'll pray for this depraved, evil human being. She showed no sympathy, no humanity, just, I don't know, suppressed bitterness that she's turning into a weapon of some kind. I mean, excuse me. And one other point I really want to make. Why is it that all of these, I shouldn't say all, why is it that some of these race hustlers who are so pro-black and who hate white people so much always end up with white people? You got Don Lemon, you got Kamala Harris, and a whole host of others. And of course, this woman, Sade Perkins, is no different. This is her boyfriend. This is her boyfriend, Reverend Colin Bosson, who is a pastor at a Unitarian Universalist church. I'm not even going to go there in this context right now. But how do you think this makes him and his family feel. I hope he's spoken out against her comments, thankfully, because a lot of times some of these spouses and girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, sometimes they back the play of these lunatics. He denounced what she said, to his credit, but when I when I heard what she said, one of the first things I did was try to find out whether or not she was married, who she was married to, and I wasn't surprised in the least. Wasn't surprised in the least. The hypocrisy of these people knows absolutely no bounds. None. Absolutely none. It's off the charts. And she's suffering some backlash, as she should. She got booted from her food insecurity board post by Mayor John Whitmire in Houston. As I said, her pastor boyfriend denounced her comments, and shockingly, even the American Pravda hasn't really latched onto this the way I would have expected. Even they are backing away, like, that's even too depraved for them, which is shocking. And she's doubling down. She's doubling down on it. She's saying that her critics, people who are criticizing her and in her comment section, just don't get it. No, we do get it. We absolutely do get it. And there are rumors that she is a convicted felon, and she put out a video where she talked about she put out a video where she was at a gun range, saying that if people feel brave and they want to come after her, well, she's got something for them. That's problematic. And she also put out another video where she talked about that being ready to defend herself with firearms against people who come after her or whatever. But she, in that same video, she also talked about being an Army veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division. And I looked, and I could not find any evidence that she was an Army veteran of any kind, that she served in the military in any capacity, let alone the 82nd Airborne. So not only is she potentially a felon in possession of firearms, but she is also apparently, and I'm not saying she is yet because I don't have all the evidence, but from what we do know, she is also guilty of stolen valor. I shouldn't say guilty. There is evidence that she is guilty of stolen valor. We'll see. And I'm pretty sure that's a felony as well. These people are depraved, man. Just off the charts, unbelievably depraved. And she's not a one-off. She's not a one-off by any stretch of the imagination. There was that, there was the pediatrician and I can't remember where she is at this point, but there was a pediatrician who got fired for saying that the people in Texas who are dealing with this tragedy got what they deserved because they voted for Trump. And let's see if I can find this one, because this, yeah, let's take a look at this, because like I said, this is not a one-off. These people are insane. This right here. This is just a small sampling of the tweets or X posts or whatever you want to call them that that responded to this tragedy in a vile way. Ron Filipowski, he's a Twitter blue check. The people in Texas voted for government services controlled by Donald Trump and Greg Abbott. That is exactly what they're getting. Another one from Mike. Good, I'm glad. Did it take Rogan with it too? Oh my goodness. I can only hope. Texas deserves it. It's God's will, of course. That's what God would have wanted, right, Republicans? I mean, these people, Samurai Barbie, cry harder, Texas deserves it. It's not awful. It's what Texas deserves by just some guy. I mean, usurp the chef. I'm kind of happy that the National Weather Service gave incorrect predictions. It didn't when it came to how much rain would fall, especially since the best and brightest from that organization were let go due to Doge, Elon, and Trump. Texas deserves the flooding. Well, that, as we said, that's just completely wrong. And you know what? I want to go back to this right here, because I don't want you to take my word for it that this wasn't Trump's fault. I meant to actually play this earlier in the show, but since we're talking about this, I'm going to go ahead and play it now. This is a meteorologist from Good Morning America, and she drops some facts.
Is still under a flood watch today.
Yes, and I want to remind everyone, this is an area of our country, in Hill Country up to Texas, that is known as Flash Flood Alley. They also, going into this, had severe to exceptional drought. Now, obviously, we've had a ton of water, so that's going to play a part in the flood watch that is still up until 7 p.m. It includes the same areas that were hit, but also San Antonio and Austin. Overall, this is for 2 to 4 inches. Locally, up to 10 inches, guys. So this is a big deal the next 24 to 36 hours.
A very big deal. And Ginger, how did this even happen? So much rain falling in such a short time.
Right. Well, part of the problem is what we call an MCV, mesoscale convective vortex. It's a really slow moving system and it's stuck. There's not a lot of steering winds to get it out of there. And then there are 3 sources of moisture from the Pacific, from the Gulf, and actually from remnants of Barry. That was a storm that hit Mexico more than a week ago. So put all that together, it's like having a kiddie pool and turning 3 faucets on all at once.
And Matt Gutman, in his report, he was telling us there are questions on the ground right now about these warnings and when they went out. What do we do?
Yeah, we know from the AP, they said the National Weather Service offices there were more than staffed. They were staffed extra, actually, which is normal. The National Weather Service confirming to us that that's called surge staffing ahead of a big event like this. The warnings went out starting with the flood watch at 1:18 p.m. the day before. So that's the day before. Into the evening of the WPC puts out this saying 3-inch per hour rainfall rates. They're saying this is going to be bad. Again, 6 p.m. the night before. By midnight, that heavy rain begins. And then at 1:14 a.m., the first flash flood warning goes out. That's the type that goes out on the NOAA weather radio. That's the type that would fly onto your phone. And it had a considerable tag, meaning this is bigger than your run-of-the-mill flood warning. Then the river starts rising, and by 3:35 a.m., that wording is upped. It says, move to higher ground now, act quickly to protect your life. I have to say, just to button here, that having a NOAA weather radio would be very important for everybody, because I think a lot of people are scared, thinking, what's going to happen if I go out camping? Giving yourself just a couple extra minutes. Nothing was perfect here, but guys, there's certainly something that can help, and having that available.
So yeah. None of this was President Trump's fault. You just heard her talk about the surge staffing, so they weren't understaffed. You heard her talk about the early warnings that went out the day before, as I said earlier in the show. So all these people who are blaming Trump and saying that Texas got what they deserved because they voted for Trump are just sick, twisted cretins. Unbelievable. And so just to wrap this up, because we are 40 minutes in and I haven't taken a break yet, and there's still a lot to get to. Sade Perkins and all the people who are blaming Trump and saying that Texas got what they deserve, they're just like they're twisted, evil cretins, because they're using a tragedy. They're using dead children to fuel their ridiculous ideological rage. And what are they raging at? They just don't like Trump. I bet they like the prices being lower. I bet they like the economy getting better. I bet their 401ks, I bet they like the way those are looking right now with the stock market hitting all-time highs. What is it that they don't like? It's just him and his personality. He's not there to be our priest. He's not there to be our pastor. He's there to run the country and to protect the country and to give us the best chance to succeed. But can you imagine if any of this happened? Let's go back to East Palestine. Can you imagine if a conservative put out a video or put out an X post talking about how East Palestine deserved it because they voted for Biden? They didn't vote for Biden, but just imagine that scenario. Or Hawaii did vote for Biden. Imagine if a conservative put out a video saying that they deserved those fires. What do you think the fallout from the American Pravda would be? What do you think the fallout from the left in general would be? We need people who are going to speak the truth in love and show compassion in times like this, all the time, really, not just in tragedy, but just all the time. But instead, what we have are these race hustling clout chasers. And that person, Sade Perkins, actually put out a video talking about how her traffic has increased and how the hits on her profile have increased, and she's thankful. She was thankful for that, and she's continued to put out these videos because she knows she's getting a lot of play. Just sick and twisted, unbelievable. All right, we are 45 minutes in, and I've only gotten to one topic. And there's another huge story out there right now that we have to talk about, and that is the Epstein client list, or lack thereof. The DOJ just put out a memo claiming that no Epstein client list exists, and people are livid. I'm livid. Everybody should be livid because they campaigned on, well, I'm not sure how much Trump campaigned on releasing the Epstein list, but a lot of the people that he's put in place, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, those people, before they got into the government, they were railing against the fact that the list hadn't been released. And Kash Patel, lobbying for the FBI director position, said that he was going to release the list day one. Maybe not day one. Maybe he said he was going to release the list. I know there were some things he said he was going to do day one. But still no list. Still no list. And they're saying that the list doesn't exist. Ghislaine Maxwell, or however you pronounce her name, is in jail. But no one else. Yeah, Epstein is dead. But there's no one else to hold accountable for this. No one. They released this memo, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes, saying that no client list exists and no credible evidence of blackmail or coercion exists. And there are no investigations currently underway into any uncharged third parties. And they claim that Epstein's death was a suicide. They put out some CCTV footage. One of the clips that I saw, there's about a minute missing. It jumps from 11:59 to midnight. What are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that? We're just supposed to just gloss over that missing minute and say, no big deal. Come on. They allegedly reviewed over 300 gigs of digital evidence, videos, and things of that nature. But they're not going to release any of it. And the party line is that they're not going to release it because it would re-victimize the victims who are depicted on these videos being abused by Epstein and whoever else. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Especially when you consider that Pam Bondi said in an interview with Jesse Waters that the list was on her desk and she was reviewing it, or it was being reviewed. Now it doesn't exist. The list that was on her desk now doesn't exist. This is not a good look for the Trump administration. Not a good look. And President Trump saying that making that comment when he was asked about it, we're still talking about this. A lot of Trump supporters are trying to spin it, saying that it's a rabbit hole that we don't need to go down when there's no evidence. I say let's go down the rabbit hole. And my wife actually said when we were talking about this that there are people who believe that this is Trump's nod to some of the elites who have been given him a problem, that he won't release it if they leave him alone. I guess we'll see how that plays out. If all of a sudden this lawfare and these attacks die down, well, then that will most definitely fuel that conspiracy theory. I don't know that I believe that. I think Trump just made a mistake in that point. I never trusted Pam Bondi. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino report to Pam Bondi. I think we still have to wait and see what happens with them. If there is evidence and they're being told to suppress it, maybe they'll resign and speak out about it. There's also the possibility that in all the time it took for the Southern District of New York to release this information back to the DOJ, that a lot of it got removed and deleted. There's so much to look into. There's so much here that the trust that is being eroded is going to be tough to come back from. It's going to be really tough to come back from, because we got Pam Bondi's the list that Pam Bondi said that they had, and then you have Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction in 2021. She was convicted of sex trafficking of a minor, conspiracy and transportation charges. Who did she traffic these people to? Was it only Jeffrey Epstein? I don't believe that, especially when you consider all the names that have been released so far, like Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz. He's denied it, and I would have a hard time believing it, but I don't dismiss anything. So we got Alan Dershowitz on the list, Leon Black, Bill Gates, and all the rumors going around about him. Wow, yeah. So there's that. She was sentenced to 20 years for trafficking girls. Again, only to Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that she was convicted proves that this sex trafficking operation existed. And we're supposed to believe that Jeffrey Epstein was the only quote unquote beneficiary of this. He was the only customer. He was the only one who was abusing these girls. I am not so sure about that. In 2024, 170 names were unsealed in the Giuffre versus Maxwell case. But yet we're supposed to believe that, well, they're playing a semantic game. They're playing a semantic game, saying that no official list named clients exists. That's just bureaucratic sleight of hand, semantics. And people who are defending this will say Bongino and Patel and Bondi and all the people who were talking about the list before they got into the government and saw the evidence and realized that there is no real evidence to convict. or to charge or anything like that. Okay, if that's true, why was Ghislaine Maxwell convicted? Are her clients ghosts? And let's not forget, Jeffrey Epstein was on the scene for decades. And there were accusations going back decades. And he's now deceased. Maxwell is in jail. And there's 300 gigs worth of evidence. And Pam Bondi just says, trust me, bro. Trust me. Trust in the government has been eroded to the point where it doesn't exist for most people for a long time now. And now with this evidence, this case where they said, we're going to be transparent, we're going to release this information, and now all of a sudden, there's no information to release. That's suspicious at best. And I mean, there are even some people on the left who are questioning this. Not many, but some. I talked about the conspiracy theory a few minutes ago. This type of thing feeds directly into that. So I don't know. This it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because if there's no list, there can be no justice for these victims. And if there's no list after they told us there was one, what little trust there may have been with in the government is completely gone. Completely gone. Ghislaine Maxwell went to prison for trafficking girls, but there were no buyers. What the American public sees right now is the government protecting predators, protecting the predators and jailing the facilitators. And the facilitators need to be in jail. I'm not suggesting otherwise. But why just the facilitators? Why just her? Makes absolutely no sense. And and unless somebody has a serious come to Jesus meeting and they reverse themselves on this, this is a bad look. This is a very bad look. All right, we are an hour in, and I am going to take a break and see if we can speed run through the rest of this and get you out of here at about 90 minutes. We shall see. I don't know. I do tend to bloviate. So let's get in a word from Joe, why is the FOIA lawsuit still going forward if there's no list? Excellent question. Excellent question. All right. Like I said, let's get a word in from our sponsor here. And let's see who is the sponsor of today's show. The sponsor of today's show is my wife's company, Carry Girl Gear. So, fellas, if you are looking for a great gift for your wife or your girlfriend or your mom, check out carrygirl.com. They've got some of the best looking, highest quality shirts out there, bold designs, great fabric, and these are things that she is really going to want to wear. And it's not just the shirts. We've got drinkware, hats, a whole host of accessories that she's absolutely going to love. Now, if you are, if you're not good at figuring out sizes, if you're not really good at figuring out what her taste might be when it comes to this type of gear, go ahead and grab yourself a gift card and let her pick it out herself. It's quick, it's easy, and she'll get exactly what she wants, and you'll look like a hero. So head over to carrygirl.com today, show some love, and make it count. Visit carrygirl.com today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch a ton of great shows. Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe, who's in chat. Thanks, Joe. Every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. So he will be on tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to like and subscribe and share all these great shows. And pray for us that we continue to have a huge breakthrough. Took us a long time to get to 500, and now we're closing in on 600 subscribers. So thank you all very much for that, because we want to reach as many people as we possibly can. So thank you all for being with us. And now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I missed a lot, and I had some shows prepared, and we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff. So let's get into this Elon Musk America Party. And Elon Musk is talking about launching a political party. Some people falsely reported that he had launched it, but it was all fake. The email addresses were either Proton Mail or just ridiculous Gmail or Yahoo accounts. So he hasn't actually launched it yet. And his reasoning for talking about launching this party is ridiculous at best. He announced on July 5th that he was going to create this party after a Twitter poll he put out said that people would like to see him do this. And the mission of this party that he claims is to end reckless spending, bring freedom back to Americans, and break the uniparty. Those are very laudable goals. Those are all very laudable goals. And a lot of people could get behind that, but that's not, he's not going to be able to do that with this fledgling political party. It's just not going to happen. And come to find out, he's focusing on 2 to 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House seats. This is not a serious thing, in my opinion. He hasn't filed with the FEC. He hasn't endorsed or recruited any candidates. There's no infrastructure in place. It's just his anger and a ton of money. That's it. And the chief data analyst over at CNN, let's see if I have that. Yeah. The chief data analyst, Harry Enton over at CNN, says that there is almost no support for this party. And I want to take a look at this, because even though he's over at CNN, Harry Enton is pretty fair in his analysis. He's a numbers guy, and it doesn't seem like he tries to manipulate the numbers in any way. He just reports on what the numbers are, and for CNN, that's kind of refreshing. So let's take a look at this.
Yeah, this entire thing makes very little sense to me. It makes about as much sense as selling sand in the desert. What are we talking about here? What is the size of Elon Musk's base? Well, I calculate it to be about 4%, just 4%, 1, 2, 3, 4% of all voters. What is that base made up of? Well, it's those who view Elon Musk favorably and the GOP unfavorably. We're talking just about 4% of all voters out there, because it turns out most of the people who like Elon Musk already like the GOP already. That is, they already have a party for him. In my mind, there is just no base for Elon Musk's third party in the electorate, at least initially speaking.
All right. When we talk about third parties at the presidential level, the candidate who most recently had the most success in terms of getting the most votes was Ross Perot. So how does Elon Musk compare to Ross Perot?
Yeah, we'll go all the way back in the time machine to 1992. And we will note Americans with an unfavorable view, i.e., essentially that Musk starts off with far more against him than Ross Perot ever did. Americans with an unfavorable view of Ross Perot was only 14% back in 1992. Now, the vast majority of Americans are already against Elon Musk, 58%. So what we're essentially saying here is that Elon Musk is going to go into an electorate that already dislikes him, is already against him, while there were far more people who are open to the idea of a Ross Perot third party or independent candidacy as compared to an Elon Musk third party, in which the vast majority of Americans have already sided against the man from Tesla.
So Elon Musk says he's going to play, forget, the presidential election is years away. The congressional election next year, he says he wants to play there. What's the history of third-party candidates in congressional races?
Horrible, awful, terrible, terrible, terrible. What are we talking about here? All right. Elected to Congress from a third party since 1970, just 0.2% of all winners were either third party, independent, or write-in. We're only talking about 24 out of over 13,000 winners. The bottom line is third party, independents, they just don't succeed. Donald Trump is right when he's talking about the fact that third parties, simply put, don't work.
I will leave with this one coda, though, when you're talking.
Yeah, I don't want to hear from you. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. He's just mad. He's mad that he didn't get his tax credits. He's mad that the bill didn't have all the spending cuts that he wanted. He's I don't know. I don't know. He's Sean talked about this last night on his show. He does have he is autistic, and that could be playing a part into how he's handling this. I don't see it working, because President Trump, the DOJ Jeffrey Epstein thing notwithstanding, President Trump is doing a fantastic job. A fantastic job. The economy's booming. People are working. The people who voted for him are happy about the kicking the illegal aliens off of Medicaid. They're happy that the border is essentially closed. he's going to have to do something catastrophic to make this work, and even for the Democrats to make a comeback. It's always possible. They wrote off the GOP a long time ago, and now they have all three branches. So it could happen, but the way things are rolling right now, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Third parties have, and don't get me wrong, I am not against a third party. There was a time when I was really hoping that a third party would emerge. And he has every right to try and do this. But third parties historically, as Harry Hinton said, just don't work. I think there would have to be a seismic shift in the political landscape for a third party to become viable. And I just don't see that happening. Elon Musk is, to my mind, he's throwing a tantrum. He's throwing a tantrum, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. All right. I told you I was going to run overtime. It is 12:12. Let's see if we can speed run through this. This happened. This happened right at the beginning of all the issues with me moving, and so I didn't get a chance to talk about this. And I really want to, because I think it's important. Lily Allen, I don't know if you know who she is. It doesn't matter if you do or you don't. She's a actress or a singer or something. I don't even know who she is, but this story caught my attention because it is once again depraved and evil. And Lily Allen has a podcast. It seems like everybody has a podcast now, where she was talking with a friend of hers who I guess is her guest star. I don't know, or guest host. I mean, well, you know what? Let's just play it, and then we'll talk about it. And let me know if you think this is as vile and disgusting as I do. Here we go.
Abortions. I've had a few, but then again, I can't remember exactly how many.
What, really?
Yeah.
Why didn't this come up in last week's episode where we were just talking about abortions?
Because I was just letting you run with it.
Reveal everything.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think maybe like, I want to say 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've had about 5 too. Lily, I'm so happy I can say that, and you can say it, and no one came to shoot us down.
She's happy she can say that. She's happy she can say that she killed 5 kids, or 4 or 5, because she can't really remember. Yeah, just absolutely disgusting. And I actually watched that whole episode. And,
abortions. I've had a few, but
yeah, get rid of that. How evil and disgusting do you have to be to sing a song about how many abortions you've had, and to admit that you don't know how many? I was saying, I watched that whole episode, unfortunately. And her co-host are sick. And between the two of them, they've had anywhere between 8 and 10. They've killed between 8 and 10 kids between the two of them. Just unimaginably evil. And this proves, and I said this in another context the other day, these people have no regard for human life. No regard for human life. They're desensitized to death. I mean, they've had so many abortions. It's like going to the dentist office. I mean, it's so beyond my level of understanding that it's I don't even know what to say. I don't have the words right now. And they're on this podcast celebrating the murder of their children. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe to those who call evil good, good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." That's what they're doing. They're saying this is. She said she was happy that she was able to do this. There used to be a shame and a stigma around this. And now they're shouting it from the rooftops and daring anybody to object. This is evil and depravity marketed, I guess, is the word, as empowerment or something. Just completely evil, twisted, sick. And speaking of empowerment, there's another celebrity who was on another podcast, the Call Her Daddy podcast. This was the podcast that Kamalama Ding Dong went on during the campaign, and Charlize Theron is another sick, twisted individual. She's the one. She adopted kids, and I believe she adopted 2 kids, and I believe both of them are boys that she's raising as girls. At least one of them is. Maybe both. I'm not sure. But this broad, I really don't know what to say about these people, other than they're just sick, twisted individuals. And this is Charlize Theron's idea of empowerment. Check this out.
I am the last person to ask. I'm like sounding very cocky here, but I think it's because I have found this freedom in my 40s where I'm like, oh my God. So I just want to say this in perspective. I've probably had 3 one-night stands in my entire life. Okay. But I did just recently fuck a 26-year-old, and it was really fucking amazing.
Fuck yes.
Yes. And I've never done that. And I
apologize for the language. I didn't have a chance to edit any of this, but let's keep going. unfortunately.
Was like, oh, this is great. Okay.
Let me just say that 26-year-old is the luckiest fucking man walking on this goddamn.
All right, that's enough. She's talking about having one night stands and just these people, they do not deserve your admiration. They do not deserve the only thing they deserve from you is prayer. That's it. That's it. These people, they're taking pride in promiscuity and sexual sin. And instead of being ashamed of committing these sinful acts, they're proclaiming it. They're saying it's empowering to just boast about this depravity. And can you imagine if a 50-year-old dude bragged on a podcast about how he slept with a 24-year-old girl? The feminists would be up in arms, and that guy would probably get run out of Hollywood. It happens. I mean, look at Leonardo DiCaprio but he hasn't gone on a podcast that I know of and bragged about it. There's no sense of how low can you go. There's no floor to the depravity. It's a glorification of self. It's a glorification of self and a glorification of a complete lack of self-control. Unbelievable. All right. I could go on about that for a while, but I want to get to this last thing before we get you out of here, because it kind of, I probably should have put this earlier in the show, but and ended with that madness. But we've seen over the past, well, we've seen since the summer of love that the left uses violence as currency. And the left and the American Pravda, the propagandists in the media, they're talking about, they keep throwing around this phrase, threats to democracy. President Trump is a threat to democracy. Conservatives are a threat to democracy. What they really mean is they're a threat to their power base and their power structure. And so we have these so-called threats to democracy. And if something is a threat, you what? You defend against it. And sometimes the threats that you have to defend against, you have to use violence. And we all know now that the left loves to use violence. We're coming up on the anniversary, the anniversary of the attempted assassination of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Because they deemed President Trump a threat to democracy. And so now we have ICE agents and Border Patrol agents being ambushed and being fired on because they're being people are being told that they are threats to democracy. On July 4th in Alvarado, Texas, at ICE's Prairie Land Detention Center, 10 to 11 suspects in tactical gear used fireworks to bait officers out into the open before opening fire. One officer was shot in the neck. He is expected to make a full recovery. The DOJ confirmed that they had weapons. Obviously, they fired on them. They had weapons, radios, propaganda, and this was an organized attack. Now that all of the suspects have been arrested, they're charged with attempted murder, use of firearms in a violent crime. Unless you are seeking out news about stuff like this, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it on the China News Network. You're not going to see it on MSLSD. You're going to see it on you're going to see it on Fox a little bit, even though Fox has taken a sharp left turn. You'll see it on Newsmax. You'll see it on News Nation. And then you'll see it in various online outlets like Breitbart and The Federalist and stuff like that. But you won't see it. You won't see it in what they call the mainstream media, which I call the American Pravda. You're not going to see it because it doesn't fit the narrative. And because the victims of these ambushes, these attacks, are wearing badges, federal badges, it's not a big deal to them. There was another attack on July 7th. A perpetrator opened fire on a Border Patrol station with an assault rifle. Assault rifles don't exist. Forgive me for using that term. It was an AR platform rifle. One officer was wounded. One agent and one staffer was wounded. The shooter was neutralized within about 5 minutes. He was also dressed in tactical gear. These people, and there's a story that this particular shooter was mentally unstable and off of his meds. There's a story that his father was stopped for speeding while looking for him. But regardless of his mental state, there is a hatred on the left for law enforcement. There is a hatred on the left for people who enforce the laws that they don't like. They would have no problem calling the cops on you if you did something, or if they believe you did something to them. But entering the country illegally, using our resources illegally, that's no big deal. That's their right, according to these people. And because they see it as these ICE agents and Border Patrol agents taking away their rights, they feel that they're justified in using violence to stop them. They want to abolish ICE. They want to defund the police. They call anyone wearing a badge a Nazi in uniform. This is the mainstream take of the left at this point. This is the mainstream take of the left. It's like there's a theme today. These people are just sick, twisted, and depraved. They've been calling President Trump a Nazi. They've been saying that he's a threat to democracy. They've been using these words against President Trump, against conservatives for a long time. What do you think the outcome is going to be? People who are already inclined to hate you, people who are already most likely mentally unstable to begin with. We talked about how the left is far more unhappy than the right. They're more likely to be in the care of a mental health professional who's been prescribing them all kinds of drug cocktails. Who knows how those things affect their psyches? And then you tell them that certain people are threats. What do you think the outcome is going to be? They are going to try to neutralize what they perceive as threats. They want to say that conservatives should be held accountable for their rhetoric on January 6th. What about people like AOC talking about concentration camps? Don't you think that has led to a lot of this violence? They have spent years, perhaps even decades, dehumanizing conservatives and dehumanizing law enforcement. And then if they even acknowledge the violence, want to call for gun control when somebody opens fire. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we're going to have to figure out how to break, because this is, and that's going to start with prayer, because it's not just, as I say in the opening, it's not just political, it's spiritual. If you stand for truth, if you stand for faith, family, if you stand for country, you are in the crosshairs of these maniacs. It's that simple. It's that simple. And so we cannot be silent. We cannot just sit back and watch these things take place. We have to stand up. We have to train. Yeah. We have to speak up, because this is a hostile battlefield right now. This is the hostile battlefield. And so we have to pray for these people who hate us, and pray for our law enforcement, our military, our ICE agents, our Border Patrol agents, and pray that there are men in the local communities who will be vigilant and bold and stand up and defend righteousness, defend the people who cannot defend themselves. Because this is a battle that we must win. And with God's help, we can. All right, y'all. I am out of time, and my voice is giving out a little bit. So that's all I got for you right now. But I will keep trying to make each episode better than the last one. If any of what I said hits home for you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this episode, share the channel with everyone that you know, because we're not just here to bloviate. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. And if you want some cool gear like this "I Will Not Comply" t-shirt, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out this design and all the other great designs that we have over there. As always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.